Welcome back to Uplink, the #1 show on the internet for all gaming news. As always, I'm Andrew Hamilton, and I'm joined here by my co-host.
Oh, that's when I say something?
Normally you would introduce yourself. I can introduce you if you're like scared of your name or something.
No, my name's Royden and Andrew.
Yeah, Royden and Andrew, back at it again, as always, here on the Uplink. We are your one-stop shop for all your gaming news.
The only show.
Yeah, you can't find it anywhere else. Don't bother looking. Don't search that. Stop typing in Google. I see you. So this week we're going to be covering quite a few topics, not nearly as many as last week, thankfully, but we will be covering quite a few things. There's a price increase coming over in the Meta side of things. Facebook, I hate calling them Meta, honestly. It's a dumb name. Super bad. Yeah. Bad Zuckerberg.
Nobody's really gone in on that as much as I think they should have. Bad name. Stupid.
People should have pushed back hard. Yeah. In the same kind of VR space, we got to look at the PSVR 2 UI, so we'll be taking a look at that. Some bad news for a couple of games that got delayed. A potential new game in development over at EA, good or bad is up to you, I guess. Some GTA 6 news and more VR news, but not the kind that you're probably expecting. And then we're going to get into our major topic today, where we're going to be talking about what games deserve their own video game MCU and whether or not that concept can even work in the gaming format. So let's just dive right into it, starting with the Meta Quest price hike. Meta, as a company, has seen its first decline in ad revenue in years this last quarter, and so
also always declining stock prices for formerly known as Facebook, the band formerly known as Facebook.
Yeah, that from here on out we will be only referring to them as the band formerly known as Facebook. And the band formerly known as Facebook has decided that a way for them to make up for this loss in revenue is to price hike their Meta Quest VR headsets by $100. So currently right now you can get a Meta Quest. The lower end version is $299. The higher end version is $399. Starting August 1st of this year, that price is going to increase to $399 for the low end and $499 for the high end, meaning that the entry to VR is getting a lot more expensive. And Meta's hoping that because they're one of the only real names in the game that don't cost $1,000, like the HTC Vive or the Valve Index, that means that people are going to pay that price. But I have bad news for them. No. Not. I love video games, and I'm not paying $500 for a VR headset. If PlayStation VR 2 comes out with their pricing and they're like $500, I'd be like, oh, that sucks. I wish I could play it because I'm not going to spend that money on that,
There's just like, I've played a little bit of the band formerly known as Facebook's VR system.
It's okay.
Well, one, it's just, it's like, okay, well, you think it's going to be this thing, and it comes with some uploaded games or whatever. It feels like it would be this thing that you buy and then and I know this doesn't make sense because it makes its own gaming system now.
Yeah.
But it just feels like this thing that you would buy and there would be more games already uploaded or things that you could do with it. No, It's like you get in there and then
it's a platform.
Yeah, we gotta pay a bunch more money. And that that's unfair for me to criticize, but I'm just saying it is like, okay, this is your gaming system now for a lot of people. Like if you wanted this for a lot of people, I feel like, well, there's two things to this. If you're buying a Quest, most of the time you're like not really worried about money, to be completely honest. Or for some people, if your kid really, really wanted it, this is the only gaming system that they're going to have.
Right.
So yeah,
don't buy VR for your kids.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. It's not a great way to
highly Wild West style environment. I wouldn't recommend it.
But it's way harder, I imagine, to regulate what they're actually looking at. Or
because especially with the Quest, where you don't need a monitor to see, so the parents can even walk in and see what the kids are up to. They walk in and see their kid with a headset giggling or whatever, and it's you got no idea what's going on because you can't even see it. But I think that this isn't going to work out in their favor. I think that they've already had a few slip ups here and there. Forcing Facebook integration was a big problem last year. They finally are stopping that this year, but then this new thing with the price hike, I don't see people paying that kind of price, especially when people are backing off. We've seen the first decline in month-to-month game spending in the last 10 years. So I think that's going to be a big deal going forward, that these kinds of decisions aren't going to happen or aren't going to create consumer spending, because it's counter to what's going on and is completely disconnected to the reality of the situation in the economy.
It also doesn't have a foothold in the marketplace to demand that sort of money.
Meta in that niche marketplace, Meta is the only major name in the game, really.
Well, but in the gaming marketplace at whole, you can't start charging prices of a PS5.
No, you couldn't just charge whatever you want for the PS5. You have to make it reasonable. You got to make it, sound. It can't just be whatever. But VR does kind of live in its own space. I do think that our next story, the PSVR 2, is probably going to have something to say about that when it comes out later this year. If it's still on track to come out later this year. They haven't really said officially. We haven't really heard much else other than this latest update. But it's got some cool new features in it, and the pricing, I can imagine, will probably sit between $299 and $399, similar to the PSVR 1. Some of the cool new features are really looking to take a full swing at the environment in which you play. So not only will it feature a new see-through mode, and it's kind of a mood.
Yeah.
But that'll let you be able to see your controls and stuff in front of you. That way, if you're like, oh, where am I? You turn that on, you can actually look through, and it's a black and white display of the area that you're in. Not only that, but you can now set the area in which you're playing. So you can do a 3D scan of your room, and it'll create boundaries based on what kind of furniture and terrain you've got in your room. That's going to keep you from running into stuff or knocking your TV over, punching your child, all the things that happen whenever you're playing VR.
Or worse, punching your TV.
Or worse, punching your TV.
Mm-hmm.
Child just below the TV.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one of them is replaceable and the other one's not. And I don't wait.
Take that how you want it.
Yeah, I brought you into this world, and the VR is more important, so I might have to take you out. It's also going to include a way for you to automatically broadcast yourself. So with the advent of the kind of Twitch format that's come out since and become exceedingly popular since the PSVR 1, PSVR 2 is going to take full advantage of that, allow you to set a cutout version of yourself in the corner of the gameplay without really having to do much in the post process of putting content out. So
some of that I've seen, how the setups for how those VR streamers and TikTokers, their setups for how they do it is wild, way more intricate than anything than a normal Roblox streamer or anything is doing.
Yeah,
it's insane.
You need that setup, man.
Yeah, you need they have a multicam setup of themselves playing the game.
Yeah,
and then they have to capture all the footage, overlay it on a green screen, and put themselves on a green. It's they're doing movie effects to stream VR on Twitch.
Well, a lot of those bigger Twitch streamers have entire production crews now that they get through multimedia groups and stuff. And so I think that's part of the misleading effect that the newer version of streaming has, is that it sometimes brings in this crowd that's this is like in anything, anyone could pick this up and just start doing it. But like at the level that those people are doing it, they literally have
need
teams
thousands of dollars a gear.
Yeah.
Even if you're doing it by yourself, you still need multiple cameras. You still need a room in your house to like set up a green screen and everything.
I've got this loosely put together closet I work out of, and I work at a company that makes millions of dollars. So, it ain't always that easy, ladies and gentlemen. There are also going to be 2 modes available on the headset, a VR mode and a cinematic mode. So cinematic mode will be for viewing non-VR content and also allowing you to see the PS5's normal user interface. So that'll let you watch movies in a cinematic, like you're basically sitting in a fake cinema with a big flat screen in front of you instead of the wraparound visuals that you get with VR. And then the VR mode is the classically VR with full 4K OLED displays on each eye, running at 90 to 120 hertz. I got something in my eye and it's making me blink and have dry eye, and maybe I need a VR headset. But I think that's going to be a big deal whenever it comes out. There's not really any one of the major 3 console competitors out there doing another headset to compete with PSVR. So all PSVR really needs to do is high quality visuals that match up to what Meta Quest is able to do and beat that pricing point for the holiday season. And I think that they would stand a chance of making a big impact, because if the price point's low enough, I am going to get one.
Well, they have the name to back it. It just, to me, it would need for me to like really go out of my way to buy another system. It would need more compatibility with like the PS5. I don't know what that would necessarily be.
Well, I think that's what the cinematic mode is for. So you can do non-VR stuff on the VR headset if you want. And I know that
I'm just talking about gaming crossover, to be completely honest with you. Like, I don't know exactly what that, but like this isn't how it works. VR games will take a completely separate studio or an offshoot of the same studio making the game to make that game in VR. But it would be nice if with these compatibility, like if there was a compatibility where if you buy a PS5 game, you know how you get the PS4 version of it now? Like, give me the VR version of it now. You know what I mean?
That's basically what they did with the PSVR 1 is Resident Evil 7. If you bought the PS4 version, had a VR version of the game in it. No Man's Sky had VR version with it. A lot of those games just included it, but those were like secondary modes on the game. I think the big thing that's kind of like the major deal here for me in terms of what can make me interested enough to buy one of these is that they have about 22 studios working on exclusive games developed specifically for the hardware. Because I think the big thing that everyone, God, this thing in my eyes drive me nuts. I'm gonna have to remove my eyeballs. I guess, I don't know. It's like right at the edge of my eye. I can't get it. God dang.
You need to take a break?
Hold on, I got it. We're good. Everything's fine here. We're all good.
We're not falling apart.
How are you? What the hell was I talking about? Oh yeah. The exclusives are going to be a big deal because it's going to be something that pulls people in and makes them want to participate in this platform as a platform versus just an extension of the PS5. Because oftentimes when you develop a game with a secondary VR focus, the VR version is not as fleshed out as it could be, but developing specifically for the hardware, I think is going to be a big deal. And speaking of development, there's some rough development going on across the board in the industry. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake has been delayed indefinitely. I am sad to report. Aspire, who has been just absolutely killing it with these Star Wars ports from the older Star Wars gaming collection, like Jedi Knight, the Republic Commando game, and even ports of the original Knights of the Old Republic and Knights of the Old Republic 2, apparently is not having such an easy time with doing a full 4K remake of the game. They allegedly, this was reported by Jason Schreier over at Bloomberg originally, but apparently they took a demo of the game to higher ups at Disney and at Sony, showed them the thing, very excited about what they had made, but it allegedly did not blow them away. And they were actually kind of upset with the direction it was going. I don't know if it was the direction or they were upset with the progress that they had made since the announcement. But two of the lead creative people on the team were fired from Aspire, which means that the game is indefinitely delayed while they work out what to do next. It's a sad thing, but
this was shooting for like 2023 or 2024, wasn't it?
I believe it was shooting for 2023 originally.
Yeah. So
there's no way that's going to happen. I wonder if they're worried, because I feel like there's one of two things that happened here. Either Aspire, who has been mostly taking and up-resing older games and bringing them to modern consoles, wasn't able to handle the creative workload of creating entirely new assets. And so maybe things weren't looking up to the caliber that Sony and Disney were hoping for. Or maybe they stuck too close to the original formula for the game. And instead of incorporating more modern, proven concepts for game development, they were trying to stick more closely to BioWare's original vision for that game, which I can understand. But also, I think the worst part about that game is its turn-based combat. Yeah. I don't think that's going to hold up to a newer audience per se, especially with how slow it is at times. It's a little.
You can have turn-based combat, I imagine, but not to the. I mean, it was slow.
That's not what people expect out of Star Wars, though. You know, when you buy a Star Wars game, you expect it to be pretty fast paced, the Jedi stuff to be cool, the Force powers to be rad as hell. You don't expect to slow down.
People want their space wizards and they want them now.
Yeah, that's right. Those are my space wizards and I want them now.
No, I think you're pretty spot on. Probably. I mean, we don't know. Like it'd be all speculation to say like what we think happened or, how it looked. But like, obviously those games that they've ported and made into in their one big game, they probably don't have anything to do with it. In their one like big it was like a war game that somebody has made into a massive, almost like Battlefront style game, but better.
For Star Wars?
Yeah. Somebody's gonna be screaming at me. They've done that and it looks incredible.
There's mods and like reworks of older stuff, but I haven't seen any official.
It's a mod on a game.
I think there's a Battlefront 3 Arma 3 mod that turns that game into
It's exactly what I'm thinking. I don't know. I just think I want this game to come out because I love those games, like
me too,
going forward. But I would also like, we haven't had a truly brilliant Star Wars game. I mean, a lot of people like the last the Fallen Order game that came out.
Yeah, Fallen Order was great.
But a truly like game-changing game since probably the Knights of the Old Republic for me.
We haven't had it. We haven't had a Star
Wars
like
a game of the year.
Yeah, that told like an original, like completely separated from the canon, almost kind of level story, which I think is what KOTOR is trying to do here.
Well, those games, like everybody, I mean, nobody really forgets, but like if you think back and you look at it, it's like, I love playing those games are like game of the year. Like a lot of people vote them game of the decade, like both of them. And so, I think, I'm sad that we won't have it anytime soon. I would
rather it be good.
I would rather it be good. Now, I mean, who's to say that the people and the higher ups are actually right about that decision? I don't know. Maybe it was great, and they're like, it's not what we wanted. It didn't have yada yada yada. And it's just
The
like,
Sony execs at PlayStation, I trust a bit, quite a
yeah,
bit for
Disney
quality
games.
control.
I
Disney, I
don't
don't.
care. Like,
Disney,
I don't think I don't care about their opinion. I don't think they're very good at what they do. To be
Disney
completely
doesn't
honest.
know what they want from a video game in the first
No.
place. So I don't think they should really even have an opinion here. But it is their IP, I guess. But
Yeah.
yeah, it does suck that we're not going to get it. But I think the delay is a right move. It's probably, I know that they back in May they brought in Saber Interactive, who's worked on quite a few major titles, on to assist in development at Aspire. So I'm hoping maybe some of the creative talent over there kind of shifts over to Aspire. But only time will tell to see what we're going to get out of it. It'll probably be another year before we hear even an update, unless they just find some. I mean, I can't imagine there's a shortage of people who want to work on a Star Wars title, though. You know, like
No, but there's also a 30 Star Wars games spread throughout like 15 different studios. That's
well, yeah, but this
but
has to be the most famous like attempt
yeah,
at
people
a Star
working in
Wars game right
games now played these games when they were kids.
Right. So you would think that these positions won't take long to fill, and it won't take them long to get back on track with a new idea of what they're doing. And it's not like, unless the assets themselves, like the world design and character models and stuff, were bad, they already have at least a starting place for whenever new people do come on board. So from one delay over to another, this one I care a lot less about. The Lord of the Rings Gollum has been delayed by a few months.
Good.
It was originally expected on September 1st, but due to a lack of quality perceived by fans, it looks awful. To be honest,
bad.
Look, like, I don't like to crap on developer stuff because I know how hard games are to make, but
you can also comment on how bad things look. You know what I mean? Movies are hard to make.
The game itself doesn't look that bad. The character model for Gollum and a few of the other characters is abysmal. I can't believe that design. And just to kind of widen out here, who asked for a Gollum game? At what point did anyone like, all the super cool characters in Lord of the Rings? Don't give me Gandalf. I don't want to hear about the wizard stuff. Don't give me Aragorn. I don't want to be going off on some cool writer, adventure. I don't want to know about Gimli's home life. Dwarves or don't take me down the elves or the hobbits, or make me a ring wraith, fighting back against the ring. Don't do anything cool. Let's do a stealth, entirely forced stealth, zero combat Gollum game. Why? For who? Who asked for it? You find me one person that asked for that.
I mean, and then maybe people were gonna play it, but like I'm not think so. I'm not like.
Now this says
there's a ton of Lord of the Rings.
There's a lack of quality, so there must be some fans.
There's a ton of Lord of the Rings fans, man.
I know there's a lot of Lord of the Rings fans. I'm one of them.
The people that like,
of course,
the people that pooped their pants when that first Rings of Power trailer came out a few weeks ago. I mean, those are the people that are playing this, but I'm right there with them when saying I watched the gameplay trailer for this. It looked like garbage. It looked very, very bad and stinky. It was like, it looked like something out of an Xbox 360.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think one of the top comments on like IGN was like, man, when my Xbox 360 comes in, this is going to look great.
I wonder if part of the reason that the fan expectation is if it's similar to the MCU dynamic that happens when they announce Marvel games that are based on the comics and not based on the MCU stuff. Because I've had this argument with Robbie before about he's like, it's just weird that they would not get the likenesses of the Guardians of the Galaxy for the Guardians of the Galaxy video game. And I'm like, it's not based on that. It's based on the comics. And actually, it's not even, it's just using the characters in the comics. It's an original story. And he's all like, yeah, but no. And, it's so I wonder if it's the same thing where it's like, because the quality of Gollum in the movies is so high that people were expecting that Gollum. And what we got was more akin to the animated series.
Yeah, the old animated movie from the 70s. I mean, maybe, but like it on top of that, it didn't even look like it was fully rendered.
Yeah, no, I mean that. I think the design is a big problem, but yeah, for sure the lack of texture quality and
Yeah,
it's just yeah. I mean, good
but
that they
also
delayed it.
we can't go on long. Who asked for it? I didn't ask
Yeah,
for a Sly Cooper stuff. I didn't ask for that. I didn't
yeah,
ask for Sly Cooper in Lord of the Rings.
and like if this was gonna be, a Hobbit sneaking around and don't get me started on the lore. I know Smeagol and the whole Hobbits.
Was a
I
Hobbit.
I know, but my point being, if this was like Frodo or Sam or any of the other hobbits that we know sneaking their way through stuff, and then there was still a little bit of combat thrown in, but the character dynamics were there to be interesting. I could see that maybe working, or even like having a Assassin's Creed style Aragorn game could have been interesting. But
I
we
mean, they
already got
made
that in Middle Earth, right?
Shadow of Mordor, like
That's basically what that is.
which a lot of people love the first game. It won a lot of Game of the Year awards.
Second game was good, just
the
was
second
a lot
one
of the
kind of
same.
came and went, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
So maybe they were like, let's try something different within this universe. But
Wrong, different. The wrong, different.
Yeah, wrong.
You picked wrong.
We
so
don't.
so many options, and you picked the only wrong option.
Yeah. We don't. I mean, people weren't annoyed. I mean, people like love the portrayal of the Gollum character in the movie, but he's like purposely annoying and weird. Like nobody.
For me, he feels the same as Jar Jar Binks, only better rendered.
Yeah.
I mean, his character definitely has more nuance than Jar Jar Binks. I'm not saying that Gollum isn't a deep character. I'm just saying, for the purposes of like the movies and stuff, he was very Jar Jar Binks when he was first introduced.
The ring to the Mordor.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, this is good. I'm glad they delayed it. Hopefully something good comes of it. Hopefully something good comes of this next story too, because allegedly, following the release of the Black Panther Wakanda Forever trailer, we had the release of the report saying that there is a Black Panther open world single player game reportedly in the works at EA, of all people.
Weird.
Of all companies. Companies aren't people. Being helmed by a new Seattle studio. So new talent, new IP. I don't know how to feel about this, because on one hand, I know that when EA lets talent do their thing, that they do make good single player games like Fallen Order. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, it's EA. That's the end of that sentence. It's
yeah, we're not very big EA enjoyers over here, especially
I like EA's games. I like the franchises, but they do a bad job of managing those franchises, and they end up ruining them eventually, and then they shutter the studios that make them.
I guess because they have so much money, but who is giving, and I guess they can buy it, but like who is giving EA all of this IP? Like, I mean, for the longest time, they own the exclusive rights to Star Wars games, and they were doing such a bad job at it outside of like Fallen Order that like Lucasfilm were like, no. Disney was like, no, we're gonna kind of take this away. We're gonna buy this back. But I wish Marvel. This is kind of like when Marvel pulled off all their film rights to 18,000 studios, and it produced movies in varying qualities. And so now you had the X-Men at Fox, you had Spider-Man, who's still stuck with Sony, and then really, when you go back and look at it, Disney, Marvel kind of was stuck with all of the secondary and tertiary characters
Yeah, they just made a lot
and
of
then made it like around, like somehow formed it into a cohesive thing that people cared about.
the big names in the Marvel comic books didn't belong to them at the
No,
time, and
until
so
they got enough money to just buy Fox. Now they have
right,
Fantastic Four and
and they got everything.
X-Men, but they still don't have Spider-Man. So
We'll get there.
I just think that spreading out this IP like that to all of these studios without, and we'll talk about this later down in the rundown, but like without a focused vision on what these games are supposed to look like and feel like and be, sort of messes with what I think that these games can be. Because they can be big and fun and awesome. And I'm not saying like EA could come out and make an incredible game.
Which,
like you said,
they
have before with their single player games, but I don't know. I'm not a big fan of EA. Like I say that as I go and play like FIFA or Madden or whatever, but I just wish that, and this isn't just a PS5 thing. Like I just wish that somebody, like, who makes the Spider-Man games is going to make the Wolverine game?
Insomniac over at Sony.
Yeah, Insomniac. Like, I'm not saying that it just needs to be on PlayStation, but like if Insomniac had the rights to all of this, I would feel a lot better because of the games that they've already made and the vision that they have for those games.
Right. And all that would take is a deal to be struck. My thing is that, so Jeff Grubb, who is a fairly common leaker of this kind of information and stuff, claims that he's got a contact over at EA, and that EA is aiming to build on the success of developer Respawn's well-received solo adventure Jedi Fallen Order. He says that the title is in very early production. The weird thing about this is the claim that the basic premise is that players will need to complete various challenges in a bid to become the new Black Panther following the death of an earlier incarnation of the Black Panther at the start of the game.
So it's following the movie.
I don't know that it is, though, because there's no mention of it being an MCU license. I don't think that Disney would go to EA again with this, especially following, like, the only successful Marvel products so far out of other companies have been Sony's Spider-Man and the Guardians of the Galaxy, both Avengers and I guess that's the only other one we've really gotten. But yeah, Avengers is, I
mean, there's a lot of other offshoots for like children and stuff like that too.
But there's not been as much focus on these major things. It seems odd to me that they would go to them for an MCU, related thing, especially since they haven't been doing movie tie-ins for a while. Mm-hmm. So this sounds like it's trying to also play off of people's emotional connection to Chadwick Boseman's version of Black Panther by teeing it up in the same kind of way you would expect them to tee it up in the new movie. This feels odd to me, and even funnier is that we were just talking about Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor. Well, that game's director is the one that is allegedly heading up this game. He joined EA back in May, so
from all that I've heard about those games and everything else is that people like them. I mean, like I said, less so than the second one, less so than the first, but
I don't think it'll be a bad game. I just think it's an odd choice to go with EA as a partner for that game whenever you could have had, like, imagine if, I don't know, Naughty Dog or Guerrilla Games were able to take a break from doing Last of Us and Uncharted related stuff in order to make a freaking Black Panther game. I
don't know if they'd ever like
how much
they're focused on IP stuff, but
I feel like they're missing a chance to really pull out some unique. I mean, if since Sony has the closest relationship to Marvel out of any of the major companies, it is legitimately surprising to hear that they didn't go with a Sony studio even if that ended up releasing multi-platform to develop the game at least. But I'm also willing to bet that that maybe that conversation did happen and PlayStation wasn't willing to budge on IP development by first-party studios, and they didn't want to have to stop development on titles that were exclusive to the platform versus making something that would end up being multi-plat. So,
right. I don't know.
Other thoughts?
Not really. I hope it's good.
Me too. I don't ever want a game to be bad.
No, there's a lot of people that love that character, rightfully so.
Man, me too.
The new trailer for that movie just dropped and it looks fantastic. And I know that movie is going to make billions of dollars.
Lots of people complaining about that trailer though, too.
All I saw was praise for it, to be completely honest.
There was a movement on Twitter yesterday, I want to say, that was a hashtag recast T'Challa, because people are saying that they're going to miss out on all these big things. But I don't think it would be right to recast him right away. I think it would be.
No, I think that's something
it's going to make more sense to bring in a different T'Challa in Secret Wars.
Yeah, I think that's something that you can do. This is not movie comic book talk, but that's something that you can do later on down the line. And that's something that you don't have to. And now with this game, though, to be completely honest, that's not something that you have to do with your game either, is worry about sort of paying homage, or not paying homage, but worry about what people are going to think of your rendering of T'Challa.
Yeah, I mean, that's why you wouldn't put yourself in that boat of following the MCU, because for one, likenesses are hard to nail down. If you don't get it exactly right, people get upset. And two, I just wouldn't want the comparisons. It's so much easier. I don't want to say easier, but it's so much less
smarter. It's less problematic to just have a new character.
Well, yeah. Well, there's that, but also like the storytelling capabilities of movies within 2 hours is far greater than the impression you can make within the first few hours of a game. You have to work a lot harder to make your character relatable and stuff in a game. And I feel like trying to just pull off the MCU and insert that into your game world would create inconsistencies and stuff. So yeah. I hope it's good.
My last thought on it is the same thing. I wish, and we'll talk about this here in a second, but I wish that there was like it was like just Marvel games. You know what I mean? Like Marvel is like a gaming thing, but like it was just like Marvel now makes games. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, there is a Marvel Games moniker, but
yeah,
it encompasses anything that has Marvel branding in it.
I don't like the spreading to 1,000 studios, kind of like Star Wars is doing, to make all these games. Like
but Star Wars is all going to get part of the same core, storytelling. It's still all that stuff is canon, but the Marvel stuff is all pulling from different influences. Midnight Suns is an original take on the Midnight Suns comic books. The Spider-Man story is an original take on the Spider-Man universe. Wolverine will be an original take on that. But like, I think that there is, we'll get into it when we get to the big topic.
I will say, I say all that to say, I wish it was more focused on a couple of studios, but then again, like EA had Star Wars
and they
just did not make great games for years, for the better part of a decade.
Battlefront 2 took 2 years to become worth it what it was.
Yeah, so I say that to say that with a grain of salt, knowing exactly what EA did with an incredible IP. But yeah, anyway, let's move on. We're running long.
Yeah, so GTA 6, so we got some new information. Another Jason Schreier report here. Allegedly is going to have a Latina female playable character, and will be adding cities to its world map over time, meaning that the world is going to be growing. There's going to be 2 playable leads in the game, kind of mirroring a Bonnie and Clyde relationship. But naturally, GTA fans, as I've said before, fans of any kind are bad. We're all the worst, and I'm constantly proven right. And while it feels good to be right, I hate it. So it's
the comments under the IGN posts or whatever.
It's not good.
on Twitter, especially. Well, Twitter's a cesspool, to be completely honest, but they're like,
Yeah.
why would you do this? Because like men are like statistically more probable to like actually commit crimes than like why would a woman and it's like, I know what you're trying to do, but you're also doing it for the wrong reason. Like,
Yeah.
you're doing it exactly for the wrong reason. It's like, I just want to play. I just want to play as a guy character, and to that I say, the same thing
You've
that
got
when
most of the gaming industry.
the same thing when they put a comment that I saw when they put a female, I don't even know, actor, I guess, in the Jackass movies is great. I'm glad that females can be represented as assholes too.
Yeah.
Like, and I know we're trying to keep it PG-13 here, but like, yeah, let's just I'm glad we're representing females, some females as bad people too in this game. Like, whatever, it's a game.
Yeah. And also, it's like, if your scope of like video gaming can only ever apply to characters that are like you,
Yeah, you're gonna have a bad time.
gaming is, I hate to tell you this, you're no god, you're no elite sniper, you're not a Jedi, you're not a superhero, you're not the mastermind detective. You are not these people. They're characters, and you can imprint yourself a little bit on them, but the gender of that character shouldn't be the main factor for determining whether or not you can connect to that character. Just like there are movies that star female leads that you can still empathize with, and connect with on different levels. Like I'm having this conversation with my daughter, my 4-year-old daughter right now, about how we'll be singing in the car or whatever, and a song with a female lead vocalist would come on, and I'll be belting it out, and she'll be like, "No, daddy, no, you're a boy. That's a girl song." And I'm like, "Kid, there are no boy or girl songs. There are just songs. It's just music. I can sing whatever I want, and I want you to know that you're allowed to sing whatever the hell you want. You can. I don't care if you want to sing any song, so long as you understand that that's your deal. I feel like I got to have that conversation with the game industry about you don't have to be every character. Like, you don't need to be literally in the shoes. That is me.
Especially not with Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
Like, that's the whole thing that like Congress people want to get on and talk about is like, well, if they weren't playing this Grand Theft Auto,
it's all like, real dumb, man. And this
it's weird that we're even talking about it, but it's the backlash to the backlash to the backlash. But like,
before anything's even really happened.
Before anything really happened, I just feel like that's so stupid. For if you get on there like, I can't play this game because it's like, man, you're gonna have a tough time when you realize what like Tomb Raider is, or Horizon, or just keep going, Last of Us, keep going down the line. But yeah, I'm excited. You know why I'm excited is that this confirms to me that they're probably a lot further along with the game than we originally thought.
Yeah, it's still in pretty early development from what I've heard, but it looks like they have nailed down story details. The report also indicated that the launch version of GTA 6 will begin within a fictionalized Miami and surrounding areas,
Vice City,
including a return to Vice City. But then will be updated with new missions to take you outside to newer cities, expanding the world map and the interior locations.
Tampa.
Yeah, I hope not, but yeah.
You're gonna go to Jacksonville.
Awful place to be, Florida, but if it's what we got to do crime.
Right.
I think that it's gonna be a good game. I think that the people will get over this very quickly. And I'm sure that one of the two protagonists will be male, just to make sure that there's equal representation. You'll basically get to pick, which side of the story you care more about. These kinds of takes are dumb when they happen. I don't think I saw a lot of people being like, but they even said flat out that it's this woke ideology about inclusion. I'm like, yeah, of course they said flat out that they want to include more people. That's how you make more money. But also, stop gatekeeping. This doesn't belong to you. None of this belongs to you. You don't run these companies. You don't make these products. You play them. They're games. Get over yourself a little bit, guys. It's an important part of life. Just step aside, put yourself to the side, and understand that not every piece of media created has to be for you, even within a franchise that you like.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it anymore.
Me neither. All right. Moving on to another cesspool, Vrchat. Finally, after several years of complaints about a lack of moderation and accountability in that community, because of the, again, don't buy VR for your kids, but the massive age gaps between users and the ability to take on any form you want, really, via mods in that community, has created, let's say, a hotbed of problematic proportions. So Vrchat has taken it to ban mods entirely, and that has put people into a very unhappy position because it's a social platform and they consider the ability to look however they want to be free speech. And again, these are weird takes to have, but I think it's probably for the best.
To ban mods in this thing.
I mean, if they want to ban mods, they should maybe make a verification process so you can submit your mod, and if it gets verified, then it's allowed in the game or whatever. And then just have moderators that moderate the mods as they're being added. But I do think that banning mods as a whole is probably better if such a large portion of the user base is underaged. Because
I was going to say most of the people that are playing on these VR headsets are 15 and under. I don't have any. That's all anecdotal evidence that I've seen for like just the amount of parents just having to sell these on Facebook Marketplace after their kid doesn't want them anymore. But I don't know. The chat thing is the big thing. Like the Xbox 360 chats and stuff, like back when we were kids, were like the Wild West.
And that's what Vrchat is now.
And it was not good then. I know people will look back on it with rose-colored glasses, but it was not good then, and it's not
much better now.
Not much better now. And I just I don't have kids, you have kids. I kind of want to stay away from this, but as much as that, I think it's probably a good idea to regulate that some, man, because there is a bunch of weirdos. Like there's just so many weirdos. Think of all the weirdos that are on Facebook already, and then put that in front of your children's eyes wrapped around their head. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, I'm just like,
I think that it's a good thing. I do also hear some of the complaints from the community. So this is from a popular user and mod creator, Frostclaw, who wrote, horrible devs, entirely disconnected from the community and what they want. He also went on to say that the easy anti-cheat mode, which is what they're calling this mod ban thing, will lower frame rates, increase instability, stop wholesome mods, accessibility mods, and quality of life mods, among other things. So some people pointed out that there are closed captioning mods that are out there to help those who are deaf, hard of hearing mods to help increase the audio and better chat quality. And those things will also be removed as a result of the anti-cheat implementation. So I think that they kind of showed up with a shotgun and started blasting in random directions with this banning process, and maybe didn't really take into account what their user base is need. I think the idea is good, but I do think that they're gonna have to go back and kind of fast track the important mods that people use as accessibility features that enhance the community instead of hurt it. We don't have much more time to talk about that. That's pretty much all there is to say about it. But we will have to see how patient those fans are going to be about this kind of stuff, because it's tough to get in on that side of things and not have problems for yourself. Let's get into our main conversation here. The MCU is a massive deal. Not only is it a massive deal, but it's the one of the largest multimedia platform or conglomerates in the world. And its success is built on the back of these solo movies and stuff becoming an interconnected single storytelling device. So the question I have, and we kind of touched on this a little bit earlier when talking about the Black Panther game, but can this concept translate well at the level that the MCU has done it to gaming? I'll let you go first.
It's weird because, like you said, like we were saying, there's not one focused studio. And like I said, with the movies, they've sort of had this problem where they can't do everything that they want to do. But it hasn't stopped them from being the most successful films in the world. Because of it's so spread out through all of these different studios that it's tough bringing in Spider-Man. Like, they got to broker deals with, Disney has to broker a deal with Sony to bring them in. They got to go and completely buy out Fox to get the X-Men and stuff, which still haven't shown up in the MCU. All that to say, it's hard to even do that in movies. And what Kevin Feige has done is so inexplicable and rare and new for media, to be completely honest, that like even DC can't even do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they've tried and tried and tried, much to fans' chagrin, the disappointment of fans and moviegoers alike. They just can't seem to do it right. And it maybe is because that only this guy can, maybe this one singular talent.
I don't know. I don't think it's just Kevin Feige. I think Kevin Feige is like a big deal and is an incredibly talented and smart dude when it comes to this kind of stuff. But I think the big thing that hurts these other companies, and what I feel that probably game developers are feeling when it comes to this concept, is the rush. Marvel's ahead. They've already had the game. They started out with the idea. They are the first ones there. So as the first ones there, they now have the most ground covered. So then you play catch up. You do two movies. You do Superman, then you do Batman v Superman, and then now it's Justice League.
Now it's Justice League. Yeah.
And it's just it's so poorly paced out and idealized that it's not. Like, there's so many small things that they paid off in those Marvel movies that tie the worlds together and also create consistencies in their characters. One of my favorite things was the tie back from Avengers Endgame in the role switch for Captain America and Iron Man. There's a line said in the original Avengers where Cap said, when it comes down to the wire, you're not the guy to lay his life on the line. He says that to Tony, and Tony says, everything that's special about you came from a serum. And both those things are disproven in a matter of 10 minutes in the end of Endgame, where both those things are put on display, and it's the character growth. That kind of stuff doesn't just happen by just shoving movies out into the open and hoping people like them enough to see. And then if you tease that they're connected, that's enough of a fabric there.
We're kind of like in that moment now with phase 4 of the MCU, and we'll get to if this can work in the games, but we're kind of in that moment of phase 4 of the MCU where people are like kind of tired of, well, when's the next big thing gonna happen? When's the next shoe gonna drop, sort of thing.
Yeah.
When in reality, you kind of got to go back and look at that. There was 15 movies before Endgame dropped, including Infinity War, which was one of the biggest movies of its own, like on its own. It's like basically part one. So they had the character development and the time to do all that. I think with the games, to be able to make sure that this could be a thing that you're able to do if you wanted to go in that direction, where you wanted to have a big team up game instead of just like they did slap the Avengers onto and like, let's go play the Avengers game. That didn't quite work. The barrier to entry to these movies is a lot less than the barrier to entry to a video game universe,
for sure,
and the commitment that you would have to make to that universe.
And you're keeping consistency over a lot longer time compared to movies. Continuity errors in a 5-minute scene versus, mess ups in the first 6 hours of gameplay are huge differences.
It almost would take like multiple competing studios to come together as like one big conglomerate and say, like, we are going to put out one of these games it would have to be a huge, massive upheaval of the system, and like just a project really to just be like, we are going to come together and put out one of these games every 2 years to keep up with how we're doing, and it's going to further the same story.
Right. Well, I wonder.
But now, no, they can. I don't believe they can do that right now.
Who would you want to do that though?
I don't know, because I don't necessarily want all my favorite studios sort of hamstrung by this project, by what this project would be.
But like in an ideal world where it wouldn't cause problems and we could get good stories out of it. What crossover level storytelling do you think is even possible? Aside from, let's put Marvel and Star Wars aside, because those things are already loosely connected at times. Like, I'm talking about like first party IP from the major players here: Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo.
Well, there's a way that you should be able to connect like Lara Croft and Uncharted. Like, that just makes
for sure
sense.
Yeah.
There's a way that, I don't know, that you should be able to cross over. What was the game with with Vin Diesel that everybody actually kind of liked, that they're making a follow-up for? Primal? Was it Primal?
Oh, Ark.
No, Ark. Yeah, it's like, okay,
Ark,
you could cross
Ark
over
too.
Ark and Horizon somehow. I think there's games that are all along the similar vein that you could probably do. Like, obviously, like some of the Crash Bandicoot stuff and like Jak and Daxter and like all that stuff, like all those early games, like Jak and Daxter and
Ratchet
and Clank need to have had a game already.
Yeah. I think that, like, if you took the PlayStation's Studios moniker and you just partnered up a few characters at a time and then said that was part of a, within a, you want to get kind of like Marvel Connections style, there's the Spider-Verse, which is a web of multiverses interconnected and stuff. But you could have a PlayStation 5 universe where it's all the universes take place inside of a massive, galactic size PS5, but they're all connected really. So then you could have crossovers between, like, I don't know, Kratos and Spider-Man. And
I mean, some of these things just would be silly at the end of the day, but I do think there's some of these games that kind of walk hand in hand with each other enough
for sure
that you would, and it would take a massive effort for combining, so like, Laura, Tomb Raider and Uncharted aren't the same studio, but like they look very similar. They play
and there's
pretty
similar concepts.
Yeah,
and I think you could get away with pulling off I think those are probably the most obvious ones to me. Lara Croft and Nathan Drake teaming up on an expedition, or even competing against each other in an expedition. So you play either, both sides of the story and then meet up for, a combined story. Probably the other most common one that wouldn't have been possible until, last year would be Halo's Master Chief teaming up with Doom's Doom guy to take on
Doom guy. Yeah.
Oh my God, dude. I would play the crap out of that with them swapping off weapons from each other's universes, having a co-op mode where one of you is Doom guy and the other one's Master Chief. And then I think that would be like a dream come true, because that Doom's universe can be whatever. You can just a portal opened up and now he's in the Halo universe, whatever. They could even be in the same universe, but separated by massive, galaxies apart from each other. I think that kind of stuff would be interesting. And then you could maybe include some of the other id Software stuff, like maybe Wolfenstein takes place in the same timeline or whatever. So there's a descendant of Doom guy in Wolfenstein. Yeah, so something like that.
There's always these little Easter eggs though too that sometimes these game developers will throw into their projects. I can't name one, but what I'm talking about.
Yeah, well, so like Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, there's a gun that summons objects to crash down into the landscape as a projectile that summons from other multiverses, and you have a 1 in 10 chance or whatever of summoning a PlayStation character or something. So a Thunderjaw will drop in from Horizon, Jack and Daxter drop in at one point. There's a few of them in there. So I think that those Easter eggs hint at but don't fully confirm those kinds of connected universes. I don't know. I think that there's a lot of cool ideas out there that maybe we're not seeing. I thought Ubisoft was going to be the first ones, honestly, to get this idea, but they did not commit to it until way too late. I think they missed an opportunity. So Ghost Recon had a project that crossed over with Assassin's Creed. Then Assassin's Creed also crossed over with Watch Dogs more than once. And so I expected Watch Dogs Legion to be kind of a crossover game whenever I first heard about its development. And they did do a crossover of sorts in the DLC, but it wasn't part of the main campaign story.
I'm just surprised that Ubisoft hasn't just gone ahead and just made a game where just all of the Assassin's Creed characters are in it.
Yeah, and
from every single game.
I'm surprised we don't have an Assassin's Creed fighter, honestly. Like a 2.5D fighter from the Assassin's Creed universe. At this point, that feels like the next logical step for that franchise of nonsense characters. But and I like Assassin's Creed, but it's nonsense characters. So you got to accept that and live with it while playing those games.
The days of game of the year for that franchise are long gone.
Super gone. It's overdone. But I think that I really thought Ubisoft was going to be the first ones to do it, and they just didn't. And now it's kind of like, I don't want them to anymore, because they kind of shelved Watch Dogs a little bit, and they've got 5 Assassin's Creed projects in the works. But I think it would have been interesting to see Far Cry's universe crossover with using Assassin's Creed as kind of the focal point for all the crossover. I think it would have been interesting to see how the Assassins operate in different, vantage points from different parts of that universe. But now that just feels like it would be Ubisoft doing what Ubisoft does, where they pander to their fans in a really weird kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
I can't really think of very many. I guess we already kind of got a crossover in the form of Smash Bros, but that's not really a whole.
I don't count the Mario versus Sonic or anything really like that.
Yeah,
but those are the natural ones,
because those aren't stories.
Yeah,
but I would like to see some more interesting crossovers happen eventually between some of the more popular franchises. So if you guys have any ideas for what franchises you'd like to see crossover as a MCU style web of stories, let us know in the comments section below, or shoot us an email, or even tweet at us at HARDWIRED, and let us know what you guys think, because I'm really interested to see everyone else's perspective on this concept. As always, you can follow us on Twitter at HARDWIRED. Subscribe here on YouTube to Hardwired for all the latest Uplink content and all of our latest stuff. I just did a interview with the head person over at Bell County Comic-Con, which I will be appearing at very soon. You can use promo code HARDWIRED or scan the QR code that's on your screen right now to get an exclusive discount on your ticket. It's going to be all kinds of cool people there. I'm very excited to be a part of it. I'm excited to have you guys come out and meet me, and for me to meet you guys. I will be emceeing this year, so it's going to be a pretty cool time. We played Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge over on the channel, just talked about Comic-Con. It was a great interview. I had a great time with it. So go check that video out. It should be appearing on your screen somewhere. And then, as always, you can find us on kwtx.com/extra, where all of our content lives most of the time. Until next time, you guys, keep it clicked here.